I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but the emotions are boiling over and I need to let them spill somewhere safe. When I was 18, my whole world caved in around me. I grew up in what people would call a good family. Strict, religious, middle class. We weren't poor, but every penny had to be justified. My dad worked long hours, my mom stayed at home, and they kept a tight leash on me. I wasn't allowed to date until I was 17, and even then it was supervised group hangouts. The rules were suffocating, but I obeyed because I thought love was conditional. I thought if I slipped even once, I'd lose the only family I had. At 18, I fell in love for the first time. He wasn't some bad boy or reckless type. He was kind, a year older, and he made me feel like I could breathe in a world that was always pressing down on me. We were careful, but not careful enough. I got pregnant at 18, right after graduating high school, just when my parents had my life mapped out. College, a suitable husband, kids only after marriage. My positive pregnancy test was the first time I realized how fragile their love for me really was. I told them the truth, because lying felt impossible. I sat at the kitchen table, trembling, and whispered that I was pregnant. My dad's face turned red like he'd been slapped. My mom just covered her mouth with both hands and started crying like I had died. My dad didn't yell right away, which was scarier than if he had. He looked at me like I was some stranger who broke into their house and ruined their reputation. And then he said words I'll never forget. "You're no longer our daughter." My mom begged him to calm down, but she didn't stop him when he ordered me out of the house. That night, I left with nothing but a small bag of clothes. They didn't want me to come back. They didn't care where I went. My boyfriend's parents were furious too, but at least they didn't throw him out. He begged me to move in, and so I did. His family wasn't perfect, but they gave me a roof and food and some sense of stability. That baby, my son, saved me. As terrified as I was, he gave me a purpose. I named him Jacob. The early years were brutal. My boyfriend worked 2 jobs, and I juggled community college with raising Jacob. We barely scraped by, and there were nights when I cried myself to sleep, wondering if I'd ruined his future before it even started. But Jacob was this light, always smiling, always curious, always pushing me forward when I wanted to collapse. Every diaper I changed, every night I stayed awake rocking him, every penny we scrounged, it was worth it. Fast forward. Jacob grew up with this insane drive. He loved music from the time he could walk. At first, it was just banging on pots and pans, but by the time he was 10, he was writing little songs. By 15, he was uploading covers and originals to YouTube. We thought it was cute, but then people started noticing. He went viral at 17 with a song he wrote in his bedroom. Labels came calling. By 20, he had a record deal. Now, at 31, Jacob is a household name. If you listen to the radio or open TikTok, you've heard his voice. He tours, he wins awards, he's beloved. And through it all, he never forgot where he came from. He thanks me in every speech. He takes care of me more than I ever imagined. I'm proud, but I never let him forget that I don't need his money. I just need to be there to see him live his dream. Here's the part one can't believe I'm typing. A few months ago, my parents, yes, the ones who disowned me at 18, reached out. 31 years of silence. No calls, no visits, no letters. Not even when Jacob was born, not when he started school, not when I got married later to a man who actually supported me, not even when I lost my husband to cancer. Nothing. 31 years of pretending I didn't exist. But now, suddenly, they wanted to reconnect. They didn't come humbly, either. They showed up to one of Jacob's shows with a sign that said, "We're your grandparents, we love you." Security stopped them before they got too close, but it shook me. I got a call later that week from a cousin saying my parents were telling everyone in town how proud they were of their talented grandson and how they raised me so well. Raised me. The same people who told me I was dead to them when I needed them most. I confronted them over the phone. My dad's voice was older, weaker, but still sharp. He said, "We made mistakes, but you have to understand, we were protecting our reputation." I laughed so hard I started crying. Protecting their reputation mattered more than their child. My mom begged me to let them be a part of Jacob's life now. She said, he deserves to know his grandparents. And maybe in another world, I would have agreed. But in this world, where I remember sitting on a park bench at 18 with no money and no home, their request made my stomach turn. The climax came when they showed up uninvited at Jacob's meet and greet in our hometown. Jacob didn't recognize them at first. He thought they were just overzealous fans. When I saw their faces, I froze. My dad tried to hug him and call him our boy. Jacob looked at me, confused, and I had to pull him aside and tell him the truth. In that moment, every buried wound ripped open. I told him how they had abandoned me, how they never met him as a baby, how they wanted nothing to do with either of us until fame came into the picture. Jacob was furious. He told them flat out that family isn't something you claim when it's convenient. He said, "My mom raised me. She's my family. You're just strangers." And then he walked out with me. I should have felt vindicated. And maybe part of me did. But mostly, I felt this heavy sadness that still hasn't left me. Because despite everything, a small part of me always hoped they'd come back before it was too late. I wanted them to apologize, to see Jacob grow, to prove me wrong about their love. But all they proved was that I was right all along. Their love was conditional. Now my parents are trying to paint me as the villain in extended family circles, saying I poisoned Jacob against them, saying I'm bitter and unforgiving. Maybe I am unforgiving, but the scars they left at 18 are still raw. I raised my son without a single ounce of their support. They don't get to claim him now. I know some people will say I should give them a chance because life is short and they're old now. But where was that energy when I was sleeping on a couch, scared, pregnant, and alone? Where was that compassion when Jacob took his first steps, or when I buried my husband? They chose to erase me. And in doing so, they erased him too. Jacob has made it clear he doesn't want them in his life, and I support him completely. Fame doesn't rewrite history. Blood doesn't excuse betrayal. And love, real love, isn't something you can just switch off and on like a light. Maybe I'll always carry the weight of losing the parents I wish I had. But I'll also carry the pride of knowing that I stood by my son every step of the way, even when it nearly broke me. And to me, that means more than any reconciliation ever could.